Hi everybody, I'm Liv. I'm also known as JC Nails. Today I wanted to do a really quick live about the Izumi Basics line. It is now available again, thankfully, on Sweetie Nail Supply, which is my favorite Canadian distributor, and it is the only lines I use for my builder gel, my sculpture gel, my overlays, everything like that. So I just kind of wanted to go through the differences between them because I don't see a lot of content on like what they're actually used for in relation to each other. Like, they are all basics, yes, they are all overlay gels, but you know, we might need a little more context. I know it's hard to differentiate, and yeah, so I know it can kind of be confusing, and I want to kind of help you figure out what would work best for you as an artist in nail tech, because these are the only ones I use, and so I'm pretty used to them, and of course I really like them, so I kind of want to explain. So if you know you're watching this on TikTok, hello, hi, thank you. This live will also be available on Sweetie Nail Supply's YouTube channel. So you can always go back there and reference it. But if you want to, you know, keep me company over here, that would be really nice. I would appreciate it. I'm just coming down from being sick. So if you can tell, my voice is a little congested. I'm sorry, but I promise I'm here. I would appreciate your company so much. And yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, so again, I've definitely been a fan. I've been using the Izumi Basics line for all of my builder and structure gels, specifically love her, the resin fast version. So as you can see, these are all resin 99, something ver, they're all clear gels, they're all pretty similar. So just to kind of start off, when something says basics line, it basically is talking about your kind of structure or more functional types of gels. So usually they're clear gels, they're base coats, they're top coats, they're structure overlay gels, builder this, hard gel that, anything like that. So if you see that when you're shopping and you don't know what that means, that's just what it means. It's your absolute basics and kind of your mandatory necessary products that you need. And then anything else would be under the category of like fashion gels. If you see that, it's basically just talking about your color, your design, your everything. Hi, Ray. Thank you. Love you. I actually just used these products on my client Raven, who just commented. I actually gave her one because I have so many and I had one left over, and she's on her builder gel journey. So so hope you're enjoying it and hope you're watching closely. I'm sure we're all like super familiar with builder gel in general. So this isn't going to be like the most basic beginner lesson or anything. It's more about kind of the differences between the products, but we will talk about like the differences when you're actually using them. So last thing just about all of them, they're all non-yellowing, all self-leveling, and they're all kind of stronger, more durable gels. These two are semi-hard gels, so that means they're just a little more durable than your traditional builder gel that you've seen, which are basically soft gels. So I find that the Izumi holds up a little better, but it's the same process and it's not as high commitment as hard gel or something like that. So that's also why I really like it for my clients, because I like durability. So and it seems to work pretty well, mostly for like my short to medium nail length clients. Okay, so just kind of a rundown, I guess, of these two, because pretty much they're basically the same description, everything. Purity, sculpture, overlay, and wrapping. Purity, sculpture, overlay, and wrapping. So the only difference between these two, they're essentially the same product, is this little thing right here is the viscosity. So we have 4 points for viscosity, I'm assuming, out of 5, and 3 points for viscosity. So if something is less viscous, that means it's thinner and it's runnier. And if something is more viscous, it means it's a little thicker. So that means our fast version here, my personal favorite, is thicker. So as you can see, I just pulled it out the bottle and it took quite a bit of time to drop back in. See? So it's a bit thicker compared to if I did my quick ver. Still thick. Again, it's still a builder gel. I want to see. She's dropping a little quicker. Boop. So it is a bit of a it is a bit misleading when you see people do this kind of test, you know, just kind of dropping it into the bottle, because of course, due to gravity, all gels will drop. I think what a better test of the viscosity is if you were to turn it around just before that bead drops. I don't know if we could see. I'll do it again. So I have a lot of product. She wants to drop. And then if I flip it over, it pretty easily falls back to the other side. Boop. I can still control it, but that's kind of a better representation of how thick it is and it does it and how it can move. Because essentially, you know, builder gel is one thing. I can put gel on a little swatch thing and show you, and I could do all that. It doesn't really compare to how you would actually apply it, which is over a slip layer. So every time you do builder, you do one coat of the same gel. You don't cure it, like super thin coat, and then you're floating your bead. You're putting your bead on top of that and floating it down. And basically what helps it be smooth and get to the right places, and also helps you, you know, maneuver and move a little quicker, is that the gel is attracting itself. And so that's when you see self-leveling. That's what we're talking about. How quickly, if this is gel and this is also gel, if I place myself right there, how quickly is it gonna all meld into one? And these are all pretty high self-leveling gels, which is great because you get a really smooth finish. But as you can see, this one takes quite a while to self-level compared to, you know, other gels like this one. But then if I were to do this, which is that bead, and then pull it over, she's also falling a little quicker. It's a little harder to maneuver. You know, it wants to drop. It wants to respond to gravity because it's thinner. Both of these are great. Like it's kind of just about preference. I pretty much only use the fast version. And I've kind of been testing out the quick version, but we'll see. But I like a thicker gel. Mostly because runnier gels, less viscous gels, they're harder when your client or you have flat nail beds. So, for example, I don't know if we can see. So this is my finger. This is my nail. As you can see, there's a bit of a C curve here. There's a bit of a U point, you know, all that kind of stuff. When you see people talk about C curve, they talk about that. Some people have a super pinched C curve, and some people have really flat nails. If you look from the side, my nails are actually pretty flat, but I do have some kind of apex, but for the most part, they're very flat. I also have very shallow sidewalls and a very shallow proximal fold and cuticle area. So this means that if I'm using a gel that's runnier and less viscous, more often than not, if I leave it too long, if I'm inexperienced, if I don't sculpt it or cure it fast enough, she's gonna start kind of flooding into my cuticle here. It's gonna start falling, especially because you have that slip layer. It's just gonna, and I find it kind of annoying. So if you're more of a beginner or you just like to work a little slower, that's something to keep in mind with the runnier gels. However, if you were to use the runnier version, the quick version, I would recommend it for people with higher apexes. So if your clients have a really high C curve, they have that apex that just goes like this, you know, it'll be easier to work with the quick version because it'll just kind of fall naturally into place with your client's nail beds. However, you can still use fast ver. I find that obviously if your client has a very nice natural apex, it's kind of just easier to work on their nails in general because the gel kind of just falls where it should. It's just kind of nice and low-key better to have one of each, have a viscosity of one versus the other. And you know, the longer the natural nails are, again, because these are overlay gels. So when I'm talking about overlay, if you ever see that word and you're like, what the hell does that mean? Because I do that a lot. Overlay is just any time that I'm putting polish, not flat and smooth, just like a base coat under my gel polish, but in some sort of way to smooth over my nails, give it a little extra thickness, anything like that. And usually, well, not usually, it almost always means when you're putting your product only on the natural nail. So when you have longer natural nails, use something that's a little thicker, get your bead a little thicker, and it should be a little more durable and sturdy. If you're doing a shorter overlay or you just want to get things done quickly, quick version. And for the both of them, they're both semi-hard, like I said, which means that they're not going to come off the same way as some of these soft gels will, or these builder gels will. They just need a little bit extra filing. So whatever e-bit you use, or, you know, if you hand file, because if you do, you're better than me, you know, just go a little farther, try to get as close to your base coat as possible, and then they should flake and peel off and remove the same way as other builder gels. They just need a little bit extra work. So on that note, this is the base gel I use with my resin always. I like to use the same line and the same thing, especially for builder, because again, we're talking about I'm having a few layers of gel that I just want to like fuse together as much as possible, and obviously things with the same formula will do that best. So this is the Neo base gel. I've also used their Neo Express. Not too much of a difference. I just like this one because it's not too runny. Again, it's slightly less viscous than the quick version. And, you know, I just prefer things a little, I like time. I don't want to feel rushed. I'll get stressed. I don't want to have to be, you know, wiping the sidewalls and stuff like that when I'm doing nails and like whatever. I feel very stressed. So I personally prefer anything with that higher viscosity level. And I'll put my base coat first, cure it, and then do my slip layer with the resin and just kind of sculpt over that. I kind of want to just do it just to show you. Maybe I'll do that. Okay. Maybe I'll do that. So just super quickly, this is my Neo base gel. Take note of just how thin it is. Lovely. Lovely. And I'm gonna let that cure for 60 seconds. You also don't need to use primer for this base gel in particular, which I like. I sometimes do use primer. There is kind of this thing going around about how it's a bit overused. A lot of Japanese and Korean brand gels are formulated so you don't really need a primer unless your nails are really oily or, you know, you're experiencing a lot of lifting or anything like that. So it's not necessary. You can just prep your nail, dehydrate it with acetone. Don't buy a dehydrator, just use acetone, and do your natural prep, buff the nail a little bit, and you can put this right on. I also use this for under my shellac or gel polish and all that kind of stuff, and it works fine. The added viscosity helps a little bit because it can kind of smooth that flat base of the nail. Okay, so my base gel is cured. I'm just gonna show you how I do the builder. So usually for builder, I'm using two brushes. I'm using an oval brush and I'm using a liner brush. Let's see. So here's my oval. Obviously, as you can see, it's round on the top. The round is good essentially, you can't see my nail, but essentially because I'm going to put my bead, if I want to fit it into the, pocket of the cuticle, not under, but, up as close to it as possible without flooding kind of those sidewalls here. This is really great. A square brush might push gel too far into kind of those corners of the cuticle, which we don't want. So I really like that. And I don't want to use an oval brush that is too long. So if the bristles are really long, so see we have that flexion here, that's lovely. But if the brush was going out to here and I was applying my builder gel, basically I put my bead and I go, the bristle's just gonna be dragging that polish with me because the gel's attracted to the brush, right? And so it'll really throw off your apex and your stability and all that kind of stuff. So I genuinely wouldn't recommend that. It's possible, but I wouldn't recommend it, of course. And then if this brush was too short, let's say the bristles were like this long, it would just be way too thin. I wouldn't have this flexion and I would be trying to apply it into my nail and it basically would just be going in like this and just messing everything up anyway. So a good medium bristle length is always best. And then of course you can test things out and see how they feel for you. This is the Oval Long brush by Diami, Oval Long 7. And I think it's kind of my ideal size for builder, for me personally. Next, I'll use a long liner brush. Well, you can use medium or long. So these are both from Sweetie Nail Supply, liner 1 and 2. I personally would use something more like 1 because as you'll see, I'm gonna try to kind of perfect my builder gel. And I don't want to take too much product on the brush, so I need something as thin as possible. And again, that flexion is going to help not, poke right into the gel and you're just gonna be able to float on top of it. So let's try it with Fast, which is my favorite Izumi builder. So usually I'll take a thin layer and apply it over the whole nail. My trick is, you can't really see it, but I don't go close to the sidewalls. Oh, you can kind of see it there. I didn't go close to the sidewalls. I'm just gonna get that with my liner brush because I do not trust any gel, honestly, and I don't trust myself. And I just wanna make sure that nothing is flooding because that's the worst feeling in the world. You don't wanna risk any kind of contact dermatitis with your client, anything like that. It's just better to keep the gel as far from the skin as possible. Okay, maybe I'm gonna put it here so you can see. So I'm putting my big glob on the uncured slip layer. And for the most part, your apex is going to be in the back third of the nail. So split it into thirds and kind of go to the first third. And I'm gonna put my bead, I'm gonna go in a couple circles and basically gather it. I'm just gathering all my gel here. And then I'm going to start pushing. Again, I'm not touching the nail at all. I'm literally just letting the gel on the nail be attracted to the gel on my brush. And move down. Lovely. Lovely. And then that little area there is where I'll take my liner brush first. I'll just like pull it in. Again, it'll attract to itself. If your application is good enough, you really don't need to flip it upside down, but I know a lot of people do. It'll be hard to see just because this is a clear nail, but there's a little too much product on the tip. So every single time I take just the lightest end of this liner brush and I pull it up and I just let it, looks crazy right now, but when you let it settle, it'll just, and I'm kind of always angling that brush up towards where my apex will be, which is, the thickest part of the jaw. So some people like to hang it upside down. And then right after, I'll hit it with my Flash Cure. Beautiful. And then I'd go on to do the other nails, or you can just throw it in. So here's what the nail kind of looked like before. I know they're clear, but you can kind of already see a difference. This one's glossier. It almost looks plumper, if that makes sense. And you can tell that thickness difference is there. And then so we've just added structure to our nail. So that's how I would use the fast version. Again, it is my preferred. And now I'd like to turn our attention to kind of our, I don't know if people like these more than the bottle ones. I don't know how many people use pots. I do like a pot, a potted gel. This is also resin 999 or 99.9. I love the packaging. So we've got two different kinds. There was only the one for a while, but now we have, can you see me in the reflection? Hello. Okay. So yeah, so there's only two versions of the multiver, right? So I'll call these like the resin builders or the resin gels, and then these ones are known as the multiver. So the first one, which is kind of the main one, still purity, 99% purity, clear gel for overlay, wrapping, sculpture, jar type, as we can see. The viscosity is a 3, so it's closer in viscosity to the quick version. So if you like this one, you'll like her. If you have this one, you may not need this one. And then there's a word here that I'm excited to share with you guys called thixotropy. And I'm going to explain that in a second. So as you can see, she's runny. Like she's just, yeah, very easily. Of course, the weight, like the amount of product that's in here that does affect that. But I got some air bubbles in here. The runnier a gel is, the more susceptible it is to air bubbles, by the way. But it also means I can get rid of them pretty quickly by just stabbing them with a liner. Not for any reason, I just think it's prettier. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same viscosity as the quick version. Some people prefer it in a pot just because they like to go straight in with their builder, with their brush, to build, for storage reasons as well. Some people like it. I like to use both. I'll say the bottle is more convenient. And so like, this can be used to sculpt nails kind of like I just did. It can be used to overlay, and it can be used to attach, jewelry and gems and stuff like that. I wouldn't do like these like chunky big gems maybe with this one as much. It'll hold, but it's more so when you apply it on the nail, the gem might slide a little bit, and it's a little less functional. But I would love to use this, and I do love to use this to encapsulate and to go over my gems and charms, or any kind of thicker designs I have. So the gold version, multiver, I don't know if you can read that, has the exact same thing, but the viscosity, even though it's 3, same as the quick version, its thixotropy is also a 3. Here it's a 1. So what is thixotropy? It basically is like the property of certain fluids, in this case gels and gel polishes, to basically become thinner when force is applied. This is such a interesting way to define it, but when force is applied, or when essentially it's agitated, and then after you do that, it's sort of like quicksand. When you stop, it'll just kind of go back to its natural state. So you're never really like permanently affecting anything, but just to show what I mean. Whoa. She's very gelatinous. kind of sticky looking. Doesn't look like it's really gonna self-level. Yeah, like she looks kind of weird. If I were to pour her, yeah, she's not really moving, right? So this, even though the viscosity is the same, this one is a little bit different. So if I were to put my brush in and mix it around, and I'll just go slowly to avoid air bubbles. I guess I'll just get air bubbles regardless. That's fun. It's starting to become a little smoother, right? It's starting to become a little kind of gloopier almost. And that's essentially what the thixotropy is. As I agitate it, as I apply force to it. So now, see how that one point is moving a lot faster than this one? It's getting runnier. So just by kind of moving it around, I've changed the thixotropy of it, and I've made it seem a little runnier. And then again, if I were to sit it and leave it for a little while, it'll probably go back to, not probably, it will go back to kind of that thick gelatinous state that it was in before. So why, basically, and why is this important? As we've kind of been saying, or I've been saying like a lot of times in this live so far, it's helpful to have a few different viscosities in your basics line. To be able to apply them for different uses and scenarios. So if you had a client with a higher apex coming in, you don't want to use, or you don't feel the need to use, you know, a thicker gel on her, I can take this and I can agitate it and to my kind of preferred viscosity before using, without compromising the overall product in the jar, basically. And also, while it's in its thicker state, I can kind of mix it, I can use it for sticking gems on. Again, see how that's my smoother area? I can tell just by looking at it. So this thick version would be nice for, like, let's say, am I gonna use the same one? Yeah. If I have a charm that's a little bigger, and maybe I don't want it to move, I don't want it to slide the knot down the nail, maybe I'm doing a junk nail and I gotta fit a few things on there, and I don't really want to you know, have to play, oh, gotta push them up, da da da. I can put my thicker multiversion 2 and just stick my gem in there. And like, it's not gonna slide. And then that can be a little helpful when you have, you know, different gems and stuff like that. What I will say, of course, the heavier a gem, the thicker your gel needs to be. You know, so if I had like my big, I don't know if y'all have seen some of the big charms I have, usually I will put, you know, a thicker gel like this under it, and then I'll flash cure it and just make sure that it's, but now I can kind of put my other gems in there without worrying if anything's gonna slide, and then I can cure that really easily. So that's definitely the benefit of having the thicker version 2. I kind of think if you're gonna get one, may as well get, if you're gonna get one of these two, I mean, might as well get the 2, because you can kind of mix it around and apply some force and basically have it for the same function. So let's say that nail that I just put in the lamp, you know, I can put my thicker version 2, apply my gems, and then I can use my smoother, bit more viscous. And again, the more I do it, the more it's the runnier and runnier and runnier it's going to get. And maybe I'll use that to encapsulate or anything like that. So It's definitely like multiver. That's her. And yeah, so that's essentially, the benefits of these kind of potted gels, the multiver versus the resin. I prefer building structure with the resin gels and then using these for overlays, for adding a little bit of thickness, or for mixing my gels, for creating texture, for adding gems, all that kind of stuff. So while I would say these are more kind of the functional, basic line use, these are similar, and then they also have some advantages when you're doing nail art and when you're doing design. Yeah, so the last thing that I kind of wanted to say, because I think this is just my favorite part about overlays, gels in general, is since I've basically been working with Japanese and Korean nail products for quite a while, something that I've noticed is that when doing builder gel, when doing structured manicure sets, anything like that, these are all kind of pretty much the same thing. That's why I'm doing air quotes. Basically creating structure on a nail. Some artists I've seen will actually paint the design on a flat nail. Let's just say I'll just put a base coat, and then I'll do my design on top of the base coat, so it's still a real flat nail, and then they'll use a thicker gel, like one of these Izumi gels or one of these, to overlay over the nail, to add structure over the design. So essentially there's still structure, which is what you want. It's still a builder gel manicure, it's still a structured gel manicure, but you're not putting your polish and design over top an already thicker gel, if that makes sense. That can kind of make it look bulky, especially with shorter nail clients. I've noticed, like, I'll kind of build an apex and they'll already have some bulk, and then I gotta start adding gems and designs and layers, and then try to smooth that out with the base top coat and all of that. Yeah, it's kind of a lot. So I really like this technique, and I've been implementing it a little more in the work that I've been doing lately when it comes to builder, and I virtually don't see any difference. I wonder, should I do my own nail? Yeah, let's do my own nail. I was gonna use the clear one, but I kind of want you guys to see what I'm doing, and so you can kind of apply it to your own. Okay, so this is my nail, this is my thumb. I feel like this is going to be a good candidate because I don't know if you can tell, but I have this like dent. Can you see? I have this dent, I'm not sure where it came from, in my nail. And if I was just doing shellac or polish, it may be kind of really easy to see it. And I don't want that. So we are going to try and simply encapsulate over our design and see how it looks. So my cuticles are prepped. I don't need this nail to stay on for too long, so I am just going to dehydrate it as much as possible. I'm not going to buff, but of course that's a very necessary step, a light buff before you do any kind of gel design on your nails. This is my Neo base gel, my Izumi Neo base gel, and actually this will be nice because you can see the viscosity and motion basically. I always place in the center or just not right at the end of the nail, and I push upwards and drag down, and just push that product upwards and drag down. Lovely. You can see now when the light's hitting it how much texture there is on my nail. Like, that's where that dent is. I'm not getting a smooth circle because there's a ring light over me. I'm not seeing that circle all the way through the nail. She's getting warped because, I've got a lot of texture. I've got a lot of dips and divots and stuff like that. So we want to correct that. So I'm going to cure my nail for 60 seconds. what kind of design should I do? The last time I did this technique, I actually did it over a gel X set, so over extensions, and it wasn't to add any extra structure to the nail. It was actually just to kind of have that smoothness over the design. The design was a stained glass window, so it had a lot of layers of color and a lot of globs of color in different areas and all that kind of stuff, and it was looking really bulky and layered and bumpy. So I actually took Multiversion 1, the runnier one, and I just did kind of like a builder gel float all the way down. Pardon me. And that actually helped, you know, in pictures and in real life, smooth everything over so I could actually see the design that I did. And my top coat wasn't catching on the light all the way like this. It was really annoying, but I was really happy to have fixed that. So I'll do a design where there's a bit more like unintentional, you can't help it, layers, because of course you can always you know, try and work as thinly as possible, but sometimes it doesn't really work. So I'm actually going to use a you know, blooming gel over the nail, super thin layer. I don't put blooming gel near the sidewalls, again, for the same reason. I don't really want it sinking or falling. Again, I have the flatter nail beds, which is so annoying. And then let's just do a little fun design. These are from the Yogurt Nail Grocery Collection. That's the collection I use literally every day. Also from Sweetie. Let's do I'll throw some white in there too. So again, this is what I would do if I had a client come in, and now I'm just going to fully cure that. A client come in wanting, usually with short nails, but it doesn't have to be, wanting a builder gel set, but also a design that, you know, just has some more stuff on it, has some more layers. And I'm worried, especially if they have short nails, if I'm worried about creating just really tall, bulky, kind of bubble nails, and then getting dragged on TikTok because of it, because that is a fear of mine. So this is kind of what I would do. We would do a base coat, flat as possible, and then a design. I'm just waiting for the nail to cure. And you know what? For good measure, since y'all are here, I actually really appreciate you staying and keeping me company. That's literally so nice of you. You don't have to do that. I know it's late. I'm going to take this Sweetie liner brush that I have, and I'm going to add another layer over my cured layer in silver. What should I add? So already, I don't know if you guys can see, I wish I didn't wipe the inhibition layer, but see where that light is catching? Every little bump, every little crevice of that is getting caught. So the nail, especially in real life, does not look very flat. Let's do some tribal kind of nail. This is the Reposo Every Line Metal gel. It's the only gel I use for my kind of chrome silver designs. It's so hard to find a good chrome silver. I think it might be discontinued. I'm sorry. But it is very good. If you have it, go make some use of it. Beautiful. Gorgeous. And just for fun, I'm gonna add some more. And when I'm doing something where I want it to be high pigment, even if the polish is really pigmented like a painting gel, that means it's thicker, and then it's gonna, again, just bring so much more layers and kind of bumpiness. So basically I'm saying no matter how hard you try, you're likely gonna have a pretty kind of bumpy nail design. Okay, I'm gonna cure that. Lovely. If I put a top coat over that, actually maybe I will, just to show you, it's gonna just really be noticeable. And also your client or you asked for structure. They asked for a builder gel set. One thing that is the difference with this kind of technique is when you're removing, you're gonna have to remove everything, but it'll be a little easier because you just have to get rid of that overlay layer and then soak off the nails just like you would any kind of gel polish. So this kind of method wouldn't really be for if you want your client to kind of constantly be getting refills. So when I use the resin line, my client, I don't soak off the nails. Maybe I will every month or 2 months, but honestly they don't really need it because the structure is so good, it does stay on. I just take the polish off and I refill it, and I just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. Okay, so we've got a few layers of stuff going on. Again, note how the light is kind of catching on all of these little dots and all that fun stuff. I'm gonna take my multiversion 1. I'm gonna take my Diane oval brush. I'm gonna dip some in. I feel like that's about enough. I dip in and then I turn it over. And we'll do our slip layer first. So I'm doing a super thin layer. Again, look at the light catching all of that. Like, if I put a top coat over this, that's just how it would look. And it's fine, but it's not really kind of the precision that we want. So I'm gonna take a little bit more of a bead, and because my nail's shorter, I'm gonna place my apex accordingly. I don't need a ton of gel. And I'm going to float my gel over. I'm actually gonna turn to the side so you can see as well. See, that's kind of where my bead is, my apex. And then I'm just floating it. So of course I'm not done. I'm gonna take my liner brush. Actually, I'll just hold it upside down. Take this liner brush, clean it. And then I'm gonna start perfecting. So I always go around the tip. My nails are pretty short, so I don't have much of a free edge, but I'll still put it there. I think I want a little more gel. Am I crazy? My nails are just so flat, like I need a bead. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See what I mean? My nail did not look like that before. If you're trying to build more of an apex, or if you have a flatter nail, unfortunately, you are going to have to use more polish or more gel, which is okay, but you just have to learn how to use it. So with really light strokes, I'm just kind of filling everything in. I felt like I had too much product at the tip, so I just brought that back up. Oh, gorgeous. I'm gonna go down one more time for good measure. And then I'm gonna flash cure. And when I flash cure, I just go back and forth and back and forth. If you know a heat spike, you know that it builds. The Izumi line does have a heat spike, but just how long that I was curing it just now, I didn't feel anything. So off and on is pretty good. Check out that apex. Oh, gorgeous. And I'm gonna throw that in the lamp. Just letting it cure fully. Technically, because my next point of order would be a top coat, I can get away with curing a little less long, but I don't want to enforce, poor practice. You should be curing, especially the Izumi line. It says on the back, you should be curing for at least a minute in your UV LED lights. Okay, 60 seconds. Stunning. I don't know if you saw before. I'm sure you saw before. I kept pointing it out. Look at my ring light, that white circle of light. She's keeping her shape. She's moving through. She's not catching on every single little thing. If anything, it's going to warp from the tip to the bottom because I have an apex. So the light is going to hit it differently because it's not flat. But that's okay. We want that. That means I have a nice apex going on. And then I don't have the Izumi top gels. But I do have soft gel. Soft gel is the brand. They're ultra glossy top coat. Love her. We're going to do kind of the same thing. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that in the lamp one more time. So the Izumi top gels will have a similar rules to these other ones, the resin and the multiversion, in that you'll see top gel low, you'll see top gel high, and you'll see top gel mid. So that's all referring to the viscosity. Low, of course, will be low viscosity, so that'll be your runniest top coat. High will be your thickest. There's a few products that I use that are really thick top coats, and usually I'll use that for a similar technique to this. Like if with my stained glass nails, like I had already done the structure underneath, but they just weren't looking smooth enough, so I'll use that. So I feel like the Izumi top gel high would be great for that. And then I think the medium, I like a medium viscosity top gel, so I think that would be mine. And then I like a really runny top coat if I am encapsulating, putting a top coat over, let's say, a junk nail. So there's a lot of ridges and stuff and like obstacles that I have to get through. That's when I like a really runny top coat like Izumi top gel low. So this is my final results. So as you can see, I did my structure last, but I still have structure. So you can have your client have a design that they want, without compromising kind of the structure of their nails. I have clients who their natural nails, you know, they want gel polish and they can, but their nails they dip, or they have dents, or they bend, or anything like that, and they look not only do they look not amazing under gel, their structure isn't going to last. As it grows out, it's not going to last. You kind of always want to be compensating for the structure and stress points and all that kind of stuff in the landscape of the natural nail. So now my gel polish isn't all sitting at the top. She's encapsulated nicely. If you have glitter, chrome, anything like that, this method is amazing, because then you don't have to worry about it chipping, anything like that. And yeah, and now we've kind of kept it smooth and as thin as possible. When you have a shorter nail, of course, you want it as thin as possible. So yeah, that is basically a rundown of the Izumi basic line. Just to recap, I'm gonna wipe that gel. Just to recap, you want builder gel nails, you want structure on your nails. You or your client says, I have short, medium to long natural nails. I need something a little stronger than gel polish. Otherwise, my nails, they're gonna break. This is what you would use. Quick version is runnier and therefore better for flatter nail beds. No, it's not better for flatter nail beds. It's better for nail beds with a higher apex, because it can fall and self-level a little better. And you want to actually use the fast ver for your flatter nail beds, because since it's thicker, it's a higher viscosity. It's not going to run into your sidewalls and into your cuticle area and flood in any way, which is of course what you want. Again, I really prefer this, but if you can really you can get used to anything basically. So if you do have something runnier on hand, don't fret. Turning the nail upside down is a great technique. You can use your liner brushes, something like this length, to perfect and to float your product down the nail and the cuticles and the sidewalls and all that kind of stuff. So that's the resin 99.9 in a bottle. You can use these to overlay like I just did, but I don't really do that. It's definitely possible, but because they are meant to be infilled and stay kind of at the base of your nail, and you remove anything on top and refill it and do a new design, that's what these are meant for. So I would keep them there. If you want something with a similar property but with just a lot of other fun stuff attached to it, then you can use the multiver. Ver means version, so basically fast version, quick version, all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of the ways of differentiating. And then multi-version, we can just use these for more things. So again, multi-version 1, a little more all-purpose, runnier texture. It's the same viscosity as the quick ver. We can use it to do the overlay that I just did here. We can use it to even just put a thinner but smoother base under your gel polish if that's all you need. If you're not trying to build structure, but it is great for building structure. If you want something that's not going to yellow or even shrink, because sometimes the gel will, when you're curing it, it'll shrink and make your nail feel really tight. I don't notice that with these at all. Of course, anybody can be susceptible to a heat spike, especially when using gels, and especially when using clear gels. But these are pretty good as long as you're using the right technique. And the thixotropy of this one is very low. You're not going to have to pretty much worry about it. With most gels, if you apply kind of agitation and force to them, they're going to get a little runnier. But you really don't have to worry about it with this one. This one, yeah, again, I would say is more all-purpose. It can get a lot done. Top coat, securing. I like to use something of this viscosity to secure if I have a charm that doesn't sit like flat on the nail. I just kind of slide it under. That's a great way to use the multiver one. And then 2, hi Mia. I've been trying to get Multiver 1 for so long. I love that product from a builder nails. Girl, me too. Girl, me too. It really does kind of work for everything. I would say 2 is more like specialty. You know what I mean? 2 is like, I have one. I have the resin 99. I need something that's a little more like specific. And it also is kind of multi-use, again, because of the thixotropy. It's higher. We have this like really kind of jelly looking product. I think the part that I agitated is kind of going away. You can see it was there and it's kind of blending in a little bit more. And again, if you mix it up and you get it a bit thinner, don't worry, it will revert back to its natural state. But again, it's very, very thick. This is amazing for adhering charms and gems, because they're not going to slip if you need some extra time. This is also good for, because it still does eventually self-level. Once you mix it, put it on top of things like pearls or something with a coating, because as you know, those come off with acetone. They come off when you wash your hands, and they can turn black or like gray after a while. So if you're using these on clients, you can encapsulate. And the runnier it is, same with the Multiver 1, it'll settle in and it should be unnoticeable underneath your top coat. So yeah, so 2 is good if you kind of want to manipulate your gel a bit more. You don't have to. You can have both. It's totally fine. But you don't need both. I like having both. I'm super glad I have both. But that's because I like to be very specific to like my needs and the client's needs. And in the end, it does save time. Neo Base Gel. Any base gel from Izme will work amazing with any gel from Izme. That's the amazing part of the basics line. So if you're on their website getting overwhelmed, it's okay. Just know that they will all work well together. So when in doubt, kind of go with things from the same brand. That's usually my advice to people. Yeah, so I hope that was a good breakdown of these products. And I hope it kind of helped you differentiate between what might work well for you versus depending on, you know, your needs and that kind of stuff, whether you're doing your own nails or for clients and that kind of stuff. And I hope, you know, if you've been looking at the Izme or Sweetie website being like, what am I looking at, that, you know, it can help you make some decisions. If you need any advice or help, you can reach me through my Instagram DM or comments, or Sweetie Nail Supply, which is where I got these lovely nail products. Or they have various social media at Sweetie Nail Supply. And they have a ton of customer service and fellow artists that like to give advice. So if you're ever curious, you know, about a technique more so than like a particular product or anything, I'm sure someone over there can help you. Yeah, thank you so much for sitting here and watching this and doing these nails with me. That was really nice. I kind of want to finish the rest of my nails like this now. Hopefully you can try out this new technique of building over your design. Whoa, if you want to. And yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.